form. Form is very important, and once it goes away, quickly when you play 5 Test match series, it gets very hard. These young boys have not played 5 Test match series. 2 in South Africa, 2 in New Zealand, a couple in Australia. So when you fail a few innings, you're on the flight back to another series, and it's a different ball game. But when you have a 5 Test match series with the likes of Anderson and Broad coming at you all the time with high quality swing bowling, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder and harder, and it's going to get harder and harder when we go to Australia. And that's why I say this team needs technical support around these young boys. They need somebody to guide them. Who did Ian Bell go to when they were not playing well? When he wasn't getting runs? Graham Gooch. Because Graham Gooch has got 9,000 test runs. He knows what it is at this level. He knows what it is when you fail. He knows what it is how to get back and find different ways of getting back. It's not rocket science. India will only play well overseas when they keep batting well. The bowling, our bowling, we don't have an Anderson, we don't have a Mitchell Johnson, we don't have a Glenn McGrath, we never had. But when we played well, we got 500, 600, 700 runs on the board, which put pressure on the opposition.
Are you then suggesting, Dada, that it is time to sack the batting coach, the bowling coach, the fielding coach? There's been some talk that action may be taken against them. Do you think even Duncan Fletcher, now how long do you persist with someone like a Duncan Fletcher? He's clearly adding no tangible value to the team. Under him, we've had a disastrous performance. All the gains of the Ganguly era have been lost. If you're saying hold on to Dhoni, do you not think at least it's time to say, Duncan Fletcher, your time's up, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, he's definitely under pressure, and they need to ask strong questions with Duncan Fletcher. When they go back, you see the Indian slip catching, and the number of catches they've dropped, it's unreal. I've not seen any side in world cricket drop so many catches in the first slip, second slip area as I've seen in this series. You don't take catches, you don't win matches. Look what Glenn McGrath has said. He said if the bowlers are not allowed to be taken wickets, you're gone, you don't win test matches. Yes, Duncan Fletcher needs to sit down and answer a few questions, because it's 15 out of 15, 13 overseas test matches India have lost, and they never look like winning except the lost test match. So yes, Duncan Fletcher needs to be asked that, can you take this team forward? If you can't take this team forward, you have to make room for somebody else. The biggest problem with India at this stage is the World Cup, which is 6 or 7 months away. Now will it be good for them to bring somebody new and start afresh again in a span of 6 months? It's a very short time. It'll go like this before you realize. I completely agree. Both Duncan Fletcher, both Mahendra Singh Dhoni are on overtime, but it's just 6 months away away of the World Cup, when you cannot just make a Virat Kohli captain, or you cannot make anybody else the new coach or the new manager. Do they need help? Do they need people around them who could actually take this team forward? That needs to be asked, and that needs to be assessed. The selectors need to sit together and say, I need 2 good openers. It's not just about picking anyone who plants his front foot in Indian conditions and gets runs. It's about thinking far. It's about thinking, which guy would get me runs in Australia, which guy would get me runs in England. That is the key. That's the biggest aspect of sport. It's about identifying who's going to do it for you. And at the present moment, when you have 4 of your top 6 not getting runs, you cannot win any form of cricket. India will be under pressure in the one-day series. It's August, September, it's cold, it's raining, the ball's going to swing even more, and life's not going to be easier for them in the next 3 weeks as well.
I have here, Dada, a comment from Sunil Gavaskar. He says, if you don't want to be playing test cricket for India, just quit. Play only limited overs cricket. You should not be embarrassing your country like this. Now, these are very, very strong comments coming from an Indian cricketing legend who's obviously suggesting that there are players in the team who do not want to be playing test cricket for India, and he's asking them to quit. Do you agree with the suggestion that there are players in the current 11 who don't enjoy test cricket, and therefore instead of forcing them to play test cricket, let them just focus on either T20 or one-day internationals?
No, I don't think so, Rahul. I wouldn't go that far, and I don't want to believe that these young players, they're all young, they don't want to play test cricket. They will be remembered their whole lives with what they do in test cricket. Nobody will remember T20, nobody will remember IPL. Who remembers Michael Bevan? You talk about Australian greats, it's Steve Waugh, it's Mark Waugh, it's Ricky Ponting, who've got tons and tons of runs in test matches. Who talks about Indian greats? It's about Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, Virendra Sehwag, who gets tons and tons, VVS Lakshman, who get tons and tons of runs in test cricket. One day cricket, T20 cricket, nobody will remember. And I think hopefully these young boys are thinking that way. I don't think that they don't want to play test cricket. I desperately feel that these boys need support, need technical support. Somehow down the line the BCCI has got to think about this and get people who've done it day in, day out at this level, because it's important. It's never easy.
No, who do you have in mind, Dada? I'm sorry, I think you're being very diplomatic in this interview for some reason. You're saying that continue with Duncan Fletcher. Now, even with just 6 months to go for the World Cup, at some level, tough decisions need to be taken. How long do you persist with the Turkey? He is not being able to deliver the results. Surely it's time to say goodbye, bring someone else, and maybe we'll have a better chance. And more importantly, if you're saying they need only technical support, who do you have in mind? The likes of Saurav Ganguly, Rahul Dravid were present in London, were present in England when the series was going on. Do you think the older legends need to be brought in to guide the young batsmen? Who do you have in mind? Give me specific, Dada. You're being too diplomatic tonight.
No, there are whole lot of players in India. Rahul Dravid is one, VVS Lakshman is one, Saurav Ganguly is the other, Sachin Tendulkar is the other, Gavaskar himself. But they will have to be full time with the team, whoever it is. And I'm not going into individuals. And they'll have to be full time with the team. Rahul Dravid coming for 9 days and then going away, it doesn't help. It will not help, because it's about doing at that particular moment. It's about doing in the nets before the test match. You see, England had Graham Gooch right throughout with them. England had Andy Flower as coach, who did it day in, day out at the top level, himself getting runs in turning conditions, getting runs in seaming conditions. So he knows what it takes to score runs at that level. You need that kind of people who will actually help these young boys, because for me, that's the way forward. For me, that's the way these young players will have to be harnessed, because there's no time for them to go home, learn their techniques back and come back and play again. It's about on the spot. And to do it on the spot, you will have to have players with them full time on toes. Cheteshwar Pujara, he kept getting knocked in by the incoming delivery from Stuart Broad, and he had the same stance right throughout the series. Nobody asked him to stand up. Nobody came and told him that, listen, when you go to places where there is bounce and pace, you have to go higher up. It's easier to go from high to low and the other from low to high. So you need this sort of help in these conditions, and trust me, Rahul, it makes a massive difference. I'll tell you, before I went to Australia in 2003, and I met the great Zahir Abbas just before the tour, and he said, Saurav, you need to do this in Australia. You're too low in your stance, and you need to get higher. And I went back, I got 100 in the first test in Brisbane. I looked a completely different player. So everyone needs to make adjustments in test cricket in different conditions. I remember Mohinder Ramanath coming and telling me before Australia that do this, sort of, and it changed my game. It does to everyone. You look at Rahul Dravid, he goes and asks, such a great player when he was at his prime. So small technical defects, small problems need to be addressed immediately, and you need technical support, people who have done it day in, day out, all the time with these young players, because they are young. They don't know what is it at the top level. They've not been through this. They'll get up, they'll get down, but they need help to go up again. That's happened with everyone. It's going to happen with them as well. And we need to find a way. We need to find a 3-year plan of how we can make the Virat Kohlis, the Pujaras, the Ajinkya Rahanes, the Shekhar Dhawans into finished products, because you got nobody else. Rahul Dravid's 42, Tendulkar is 42, they're gone. They're past their best, and they will not come back and bat for India again. So it is these boys who need to be looked after and make sure we get better, because we've been appalling in the last 4 years in overseas conditions, and it's not getting better. We have to address it, and if we don't address it, come Australia in December, we will again have 3-day test matches, trust me.
Well, those are very, very wise words coming from Saurav Ganguly, and I hope that the powers that be at the BCCI are listening. So far, they're more keen on ensuring that the IPL schedule fits in, that they're able to get money into their bank. Concerns like losing abroad don't seem to bother them very much, but as cricket fans and lovers, this is indeed very troublesome. Saurav Ganguly has some great ideas. We need to involve the Gangulys and the Dravids of the world to ensure that Indian cricket does not falter in this fashion. For the time being, Saurav Ganguly for joining us from London Live tonight. Thank you very much. We're slipping into a quick break. News and updates will continue when we come back on the other side. Look forward to seeing you at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here at the Center Stage team, thank you, good night, and goodbye.